Welcome to another episode of Think Your Way to an Epic Life, and boy, do we have a treat for you today. Mike Watts has started 6 companies, startups from the beginning through the end. 3 of them are over $1 million, and he happens to be partnering with Daymond John, the Shark Tank guy, and he didn't go on Shark Tank, and he tells that story. He thought that was how it was supposed to happen, but he tells that story in here. And you guys, I am not exaggerating when I tell you he is giving you massive time and money saving ideas throughout this entire thing. You really want to listen to it. If you're an entrepreneur or you have any entrepreneur tendencies, also please send it to your friends and let them check it out. Mike, thanks so much for sharing your time with us today.
Thanks for having me, Kara. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I've been looking forward to this. I've done a little research on you, and you seem like a really neat person. And like I said in the intro, you know, the fact that you've had 6 startups and 3 of them are over $1 million, it takes a certain person to be able to do that kind of stuff. What do you say are the secret ingredients needed to be a great CEO?
Well, it's a great question, and it's something that I'm still technically figuring out. I don't have a magic bullet, but I can say that what's worked for me is just a level of positive persistence and the willingness to not see failure as an end, to see it as just part of the journey. And when it happens, you know, you learn and get back up just quickly as you can. And so that's really served me well, because we've had more setbacks than wins for sure. And I just try to learn from everyone and try to just keep a smile on my face as I go.
And that's a tall order, because, you know, business can get a little yucky, and setbacks can just take the wind out of you. And so all these people that are watching you today, mostly entrepreneurs, and let's just say they just got sucker punched and never saw it coming. How do you keep that smile on?
Well, you know, for me, it's not looking at, you know, there being necessarily an end, and that it's a journey. Then, you know, all journeys, you know, they have peaks and valleys, and we just try our best to navigate it. If you're out there and you are in a valley, I always like to tell people, if you're walking through the valley, keep walking. Just don't stop. And so that's the best advice I have is, you know, continue to believe in yourself and put the effort in each day. Be very purposeful about, you know, kind of underestimate what you can do in a day, but then maybe overestimate what you can do over a year. And, you know, you can over time really make some momentum if you have consistent effort and continue to educate yourself. When you don't know something, try to find a wise counsel, whether that might just be from a book, but it might be from finding a mentor. But just continue to try to level yourself up so that you can bring your game forward and just keep showing up. Just don't quit. If you never quit, you're going to win.
There you go. Okay, so I have to talk about your shirt and behind you, because I didn't say anything about that in the introduction, and it might be perceived wrongly. What is LoveHandle?
Well, LoveHandle is my latest startup, and sorry for shamelessly plugging my brand here, but we're very proud of it. We manufacture what we think is the world's greatest smartphone accessories. We make a product that you put on the back of your phone. It's a strap. The original version was just a strap, but my amazing customers kept asking for more, so now we've added a kickstand feature. We've added a MagSafe feature so that you can wireless charge. We even have a wallet version. You can interchange the straps. And this particular edition that I have on my phone here is our 10-year anniversary. It says "Enjoy the Ride," which is a commitment my dad and I made when we started the company, because it wasn't our first startup and we knew how hard it would be. So we made a promise to each other that we would enjoy the ride. And that's, I'm a big surfer, so that's technically me surfing on a LoveHandle here on the back. But, you know, we see your phone as like, we asked our customers one time, like, would you rather leave the house without your phone or without your shoes? And most people would rather leave barefoot with their phone. And so why not accessorize that and make it personal, make it useful for yourself? This thing will stick to any metal pole. So instead of you not being able to get that picture or get a selfie, you can stick it to a pole and get a selfie or do a TikTok or whatever you're into. So we just try to give people the power to control their devices, which are expensive, and do more with it and express themselves with it.
Wow, that is super cool. So who are you in business with? Your dad?
My dad and I, we founded the company. And over the last 10 years, he is now retired and left me to it. I've always been the CEO, and I've had an amazing father that's always believed in me and willing to invest in my crazy ideas. And some of them have worked out and some of them have not, but this one's doing pretty well. And so now he plays pickleball all the time, but along the journey, he was side by side with me with every struggle, every trade show we were doing in the early days. And, it's been an amazing journey. And now we've sort of kept that family theme going. All three of my children work here, some full-time, some part-time. One runs an entire division of the company. I recruited my wife after we were completed homeschooling our children, and she now runs our marketing department. She's an amazing marketer, but never studied in that field. She's a natural and does a great job there. And my new daughter-in-law works here on the social team. My mother-in-law runs customer service. So we're very much a family, faith-based company that really is focused on American manufacturing. So we do our manufacturing for the most part here in the building. So the same people that make the products and, or work right alongside and have lunch with the people that sell it and do the financing and shipping and everything. It's all kind of a little Amazon for our own little inventions.
How cool is that? There's so much to unpack out of that. I just wish we could stop time. But I have to go. I guess I have to go to the one where he supported you through all of it. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. Let's talk about the didn'ts, because I feel like you learn more from your failures than you do from your successes.
Yeah, definitely. So, it was more along the lines of ideas that just didn't really pan out to the scale of what we thought, or we had challenges. I mean, I've had crazy ideas where I just wanted to start a t-shirt business, and I learned the hard way that that's a commodity business and everybody's barrier of entry is too low. And he invested, $10,000 into it, and I didn't have any money back then, but he believed in my dream, and, he lost all his money, and I learned a $10,000 lesson that he funded, so it was, and then like when we started LoveHandle right out of the gate, I said, let's do an infomercial, because my previous startup, we had done infomercials, but nobody let me know that my ego had gotten big and people had gone from watching TV to on their phones and on social media. And so infomercials didn't work the way they used to. And we lost $200,000 right out of the gate. I ordered way too much product that ended up being inferior. So we had to push $300,000 worth of product into the dump. All this within the first 6 months of starting the company. And so, that was some pretty heavy pills to swallow, but, never wavered in his faith in me, and just believed that we would succeed if we kept trying. And we've found great success, and it's been an amazing journey to get to share both the trials and the wins together.
Right on, right on. So would you say that you have had more failure than you have had success?
Yes, definitely. So we, if you look at it in snapshots, right? If you looked at it, you take any 6-month period, you would find mostly failure. But overall, if you see the sort of cumulative benefit over time, then you would say, well, this guy's a wild success. But there's been lots of, bumps and bruises. I'm proud. I ought to be in a wheelchair for everything I've been through in business. But it's, that's what makes it great. It makes the peaks feel so much better when you get up there and a cool breeze and a little bit of success. But there's always another peak you see down the way. And really, it's the journey that I love. And I love getting to share my story, because hopefully other entrepreneurs, will be inspired by it. I believe that the American dream is what, makes our country great. I think it is still very much alive for those that are willing to go get it. And, I just want to see other people do it too.
Yes. It is. So let's say that somebody who's listening is like, yeah, it works for him, but it doesn't work for me. I've got this 9 to 5 and I really hate getting up and going to work. What do they do? How do they take the first step?
Well, first thing you got to think about, like, you can't, a business partner of mine who's also a shark on Shark Tank, Daymond John, he says, you can't hit a target you can't see. The first thing you need to think about is, what do you want out of life? Is it, and not financially, but like, what would finances do if that's what it is, right? But like, do you want just to provide great lifestyle for your family? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to, whatever it is that you want to do, right? Do make a big impact, or leave a legacy? Like, what is it that really drives you and kind of you feel that stir? Start from there and then work your way backwards to where you are today. And then take small steps toward it. You don't, some people talk about burning the ships. I don't believe in burning the ships. I say stay on the ship. You got a good ship, keep it. Best boat is like 4 boats. So you build another boat while you're on it. I did this when I had a corporate job for 8 years out of college. I was an engineer, and then I moved to public relations because I like to talk so much. So they moved me into PR. And, but I was in a big corporate, I worked for the electric company in Houston. And, it's a bureaucracy. And there was just a ceiling, and I wasn't really recognized for any benefits that I offered. I got a 3% raise every year, no matter how I did. And I just felt like I was wasting my life. And then we had children. And then that really was the spark for me that gave me the motivation for my wife and I to take some risks and push ourselves forward. So we started going to home and garden trade shows on the weekend and selling. That's really where it started, like selling little crystals that turn into, this polymer you can grow plants out of. And like it was our first little startup. And we just started investing every bit of free time we had into trying to make extra money with the vision of creating a better life in the long term for ourselves. And eventually that side business grew to big enough where I was able to leave that job with an income, with 3 kids at the time, and walk away from insurance. And, we had a pension and, all kinds of great benefits and security that the world would look at a very secure job and not that hard of a job. But, we took a big risk and put all of our eggs into the basket of let's do it on our own terms and like try to really shoot for the goals that we have, which were going to be limited by the corporate structure.
Shoo, that was so bold and so brave. I mean, and I am an entrepreneur as well. However, I do understand that mindset of how could you have possibly left this secure, did you get that kind of pushback from people?
Oh, absolutely. My grandmother thought I was crazy. She's like, son, you got the most safe job out there. Of course, my grandfather, worked at Phillips 66 for his entire career. Like he never changed employers ever. And, she didn't understand the move. And, it definitely got into my coworkers are like, really, you're leaving? You're like, everybody tries to get this position that you're in. This is like the cakewalk job. But for me, it was just nails on a chalkboard. I felt like I was wasting my time.
Shoo-wee. Good for you. So guys, if you're feeling that, listen to your gut, listen to your gut. Because if you look back and you hadn't taken that chance, was it a slow death for you to just keep doing what you knew you shouldn't be doing?
Oh, absolutely. And it's like give you a few examples. While I was there, digital cameras weren't a thing, and I was always into the new tech. And I saw this opportunity for digital cameras to be used in the electric company because you go out and take a photograph of a problem and then upload those images, which seems like normal today, but back then that's not the way you did it. You drew it out. And the whole proposal, and then the company ended up adopting it and rolling it out, and they were the first utility to do it. And it was this big win for the company financially, and they did absolutely nothing extra for me that year. Later on, I wrote this beautiful annual report we got for all the community activities we were doing. It was given this big award. Again, 3% raise, the same raise that was given to the person in the cubicle next to me that was literally doing nothing all day. And so that, it really just takes the wind out of your sails when you have a lot to offer and you deliver the results. But because of the way the structure of the, organization is, then, they just are limited for what they can. Not that maybe my boss wanted to do something, they just couldn't. So it was very, very disheartening.
Yeah, that's the thing. No matter how hard you work, and I had that too. I was an entrepreneur, and I finally just got so tired of moving all the time that I went back and took a Diamond Shamrock convenience store. I was a manager of a convenience store in the past, and I thought I'll just go back to this solid, steady job. And oh my gosh, no matter how hard I worked, I still got that same paycheck, and I was so used to when I really bust it, I get paid really, really well. And that's just not the way it is in the corporate world. But in your world, if somebody's working with you, are they receiving some of the benefits when they do something extraordinary?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I try to. I'm sure there's plenty of things that go on that I don't recognize, but now that I've run this is the largest organization I've had. We have 26 employees now, and I see the role of CEO as not chief executive officer; it's chief encouragement officer. It's my job to be out there and encourage others to rise to their potential. So I'm constantly looking for someone who has solved a problem, and it may just be an attaboy, or it might be a Starbucks gift card that I give them, but and I recognize them in front of their peers, and that means a lot to people. And, I really try to create an environment where people feel comfortable making mistakes. I'm like, mistakes are great. It means you tried something new. Just don't repeat those mistakes, and, then we don't have a problem. And, so I really do try to create an environment, as I was coming up, I've always kind of had this entrepreneurial, I was selling blow pops out of my backpack when I was in middle school, right? I've always had some sort of hustle going. I was always known for that. And then I got into a job, I had 13 different jobs before I graduated college. And, I just wanted to try something new. Along the way, I guarantee you, I had 13 different supervisors or bosses that were deficient in some way. Either they didn't recognize I did something good, or they just didn't give me any structure or any goals. There's a lot of things I learned from bad management that I tried to then flip and rotate back to become how do I do this better when I become a leader? And I think that being a leader really starts with serving others first, thinking of them first. What are their needs? What are their personal goals? I know what everyone here has for their personal goals. What's the most important thing for them? If it's family, or if it's the music that they're trying to create, or the business that they want to start on the side of it. Many people leave my company and start other businesses, and I help them do it because I really try to put them first. And when you do that, when people really feel that, because you can't fake it, if you really put other people first, then they're going to go to the moon and back for you, whether you're looking or not.
Right on. Okay, so you just kind of dropped the name a little earlier, Daymond John, and you just dropped that name like no big deal. My business partner. How did that happen?
Well, it's an amazing story. And, any entrepreneur probably loves the show Shark Tank. And when it first came out, I'm a big goal setter, and I write my goals down. I encourage people to write them in pen, and it really helps to get your subconscious working on that. But I had this goal that I wanted to be on Shark Tank. And so we auditioned. My dad and I went and auditioned. We were at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, and they had open calls. And so we went and got in line at 4 a.m. to make sure we got to audition. And we got through to the first round of auditions, and they put us through. And we got through the second round of auditions, which was a couple weeks later, with a video interview and a big long form. And then they turned us down. I was heartbroken. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, man, because I felt like we had a cool product. We were a family business. We were good on camera, which I thought. And next thing you know, they say, no, we weren't a good fit. So a year goes by, and the same exact scenario happens. We audition, we get to the second round, and then they decline us again. I was like, man, I thought this was supposed to be happening. I was going to walk down the carpet and pitch to the Sharks, and I was going to make a deal. And I wanted Daymond John to be my mentor and business partner because I thought that he was the most down to earth of the Sharks. He was, I loved his books that he had written, his story, but coming up from nothing. I mean, I grew up out in a trailer park, and, so I was seeing this similarity, and I wanted to do a deal with him, but they wouldn't put me on the show. So then turn of events, I'm watching my website orders. We did some little e-commerce early, and I saw that this company called the Shark Group had ordered our product out of New York City. And I realized that is Daymond John's company. All those samples that I had been illegally sending to the set of Shark Tank somehow got into his hands. And they told us, don't send any samples. But, I'm really not one to be, I'm more of an ask forgiveness than permission kind of guy. And So I just kept sending stuff up there, and with all the sharks' names on them, like it was a normal package delivery. He got one and loved it, and so he started ordering them off the website. So I reached out to his team and was like, "Hey, I love, I'm a big fan." Introduced myself, started sending samples, and then he launched his next book, Rise and Grind, Power of Broke, and I started making custom ones for him to give away at his book signings with his logo on the strap for the phone grips. And so I just kept doing that and adding value to him. And I went about a year, I was doing that. And then eventually the phone rings. Daymond John's calling me saying, "Mike, thank you for doing all this, for one. And I'm really impressed by your hustle, and your product's great. So I don't really do this. I have more deals than I can say grace over, but let's do a deal together." And so long story long, I guess in this case, I was able to make a deal with a shark, but not go to the Shark Tank, which has been way better than if I'd have walked down the carpet and went through the corporate gating that he has for, new brands and things. Now I'm somebody he called, and now we're friends. And I talked to him yesterday. It's just been this amazing relationship that evolved out of setting a goal and then having it come about through just sheer will and a blessing. But at the end of the day, like, it would have never happened if I hadn't had that vision, and it happened way better than I thought it was supposed to go. So something's not going the way you think it's supposed to go in your mind. Just, it might happen in a better way that you can't see, that there's a higher power out there that's got a better plan for you. So just keep showing up, and you never know how it's going to work out. So.
That is such a cool story, and thank you for regaling it all. Guys, I hope you picked up from that most people, you be honest with yourself right now as you're thinking this. If you had been rejected from the Shark Tank twice, would you continue and for a year sending your product to one of the sharks separately and just doing all this with no expectation of return, just serving, being of value, and just showing up and helping the person that can help you? How many of you would do that for more than a minute? Like, oh, if I don't get something back right now, I'm out. What gave you that kind of perseverance?
Well, I don't know. I just was hard-headed, I guess. But I really felt like I have something of value that the world needs. I believe in my product to this day. Like, this is something that the world needs. This is like wheels on a suitcase. I'm the guy going, "Why are you people carrying all your suitcases through the airport when you could roll them through here? I have wheels." Like, I feel like that my product for the smartphone is like that. And so I feel like I'm doing a service to everyone when I'm out there trying to help him. And for him, he doesn't have any affordable way to, outside of the book, right, to leave his mark or make his brand or give a gift or show his appreciation. So I was like, what a great way for him to do that than to remind someone every day they touch their phone of his book title and the messages within it and their time that they met him in person, how special that was. And so it allows all that stuff to be, sort of exponentially blown up over time.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. So I do have a lot of realtors that watch this. Realtors, what a closing gift to have your team name or your name if you're an individual, and they've got that in their hand all the time. So what would be the smallest order you would accept to do branded kind of stuff?
We do as small as 50 pieces, and it comes attached to a business card. So we'll print your business card and then attach this. So it's like a business card with a gift attached, and people really like that. It just stands out. When everyone else is passing out business cards, you've got something where it's just a little something extra. And that's why we call it LoveHandle. It's a little something extra to hang on to. So.
Wow, that's smart. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so how much impact has being Daymond's partner been for you?
It's been really big for me, and I'll give you a few examples. He, right out of the gates, we made this deal, and it's kind of a unique deal, right? Because he said, "Look, I could give you money, but that's not what you need. It's like, you need exposure, and so why don't I just do that, and then that will earn my piece." And so right away he put me on QVC, Home Shopping Network, He had just like 2 phone calls, right? And then put me on Good Morning America on the Deals and Steals segment with Tori Johnson. And then we were on The View. Like, these are just his network. He just activated his network to get my product in the people's hands and then move me years ahead in exposure and branding and sales too. And it doubled my sales in 6 months. So that was like a short-term impact. But then now he's helping me to get, they just filmed the last season of Shark Tank last week, or the last season with Mark Cuban on it. And so he's like, hey, send some out. And so he took them not only to Shark Tank and passed them out to all the sharks and all the guests and all the VIPs. And then he was at the Emmys. They won an Emmy. He was passing them out at the Emmys. And then they went to TMZ and they ran out. And he called me from TMZ. He said, hey man, you need to send some more to TMZ. They want some more. So he's just constantly out there in the right circles, putting my product in people's hands because he loves it. And so it's easy for him. I provide it for free, like unlimited. And so it's been a win-win for everybody. And that's really what we're after in business, is like creating value. It's like a piece of art. It's like something that didn't exist, and then now it exists, and now everyone benefits from it.
Okay, so I'm sitting at home and I'm watching this on YouTube, or I'm listening, I'm driving down the road, and I have this idea. How do I know it's good?
Well, that's a good question. And you're going to have to think about the value that you're delivering to others. And, maybe it's I've got most of my experience in product ideas, so we'll keep it in that bucket. So if you have a product idea, you want to take a product and you're like, I've got this new widget that'll do this great thing. Some of the attributes that you're going to look for in determining what a great product is versus, let's say, a good product. So you can spend your whole life chasing good products and never make a dime. Great products is what it takes to really build a brand and support the fixed costs of a business. So how do you determine a great product? It's really like market size and be able to, have enough critical mass of people that you can market to and impact, because you're never going to get all of them. Is it demonstrable? Can you demonstrate how well your product works, particularly visually? These days, even more important. Can you make a TikTok reel or a reel, to showcase how it works quickly? Can you manufacture it very efficiently? Is it complicated to make, or is it simple to make? And if it's simple and has the value and you can make it for 10 to 20% of retail, which is where you need to be, then maybe that's a good thing. Is there liability concerns? Like, you want to avoid things like, I'm not really interested in being in the baby car seat business, right? Or the airbag business. Like, I don't want to be in something that's super dangerous. And is it, is there a big barrier to entry? Like, I could come up with a great beverage drink, an idea, but you know how competitive, or cosmetics, the same thing. Like, it's very difficult to break into some of these old world industries that are controlled by big conglomerates. So is there room for a new player? And does the market even exist? Doesn't mean that you can't go into it, but do people even know there's a problem? Because if they don't know there's a problem that needs solved, now you have to go educate everyone that they have this problem that they weren't aware of. So, those are some of the things that I look at in determining whether a product idea is good enough to try to. And the cool thing is that today, with modern marketing, with social media marketing, you can test an idea and not even have it like a prototype. But you can just create a video about your product with a buy now button and see if people will click through and buy it, or sign up for an email for when it releases, or do a Kickstarter or something like that. But really, I think just do the ad and see, okay, I spent $500 on ads and it generated $3,000 in sales. Then you contact everyone and say, oh, sorry, we were sold out. We've refunded your money. Now you run out and make it, right? Because you've tested the idea without having to go out and create tooling and order 10,000 of them or whatever. So test first. Daymond always says, take affordable steps. So that's the thing. Pretty much every time, even if it's a good idea or a great idea, the version that will end up being the consumer version of the one the consumer really wants is not the one you've got right now. It will be some iteration of that the consumer says, hey, do the different color, different texture, different size, whatever it might be, a different price, you're going to be modifying those things along the way to try to navigate and fit it into the consumer where they see the value to spend their hard-earned money to, pay for it.
And that right there is so valuable. That information is so valuable that you don't go out and spend a year and a half perfecting this product. You go out and you spend $500 and find out, does anybody even care? Because that is, my goodness, that is like PhD stuff right there. Thank you for bringing that to us. Really, that's big.
I'm going to add one more little thing I'll say about this is like, and be careful who you ask. A lot of people will go like, ask their mom or their friends or whatever, if it's a good idea. And, I call it the ugly baby syndrome. Nobody wants to tell somebody they got an ugly baby, but, nobody wants to say that, especially if you know them. So be sure that that's why the market will tell you. Like if you put it out there, it will tell you. So just be careful who you're seeking advice. And if you do ask people that have them give you some money. Say like, okay, well here, you think it's a cool idea? Great. Here, go ahead and give me, $200 for a down payment towards yours and go ahead and pre-order it and see how much they like it.
There you go. How do you handle people stealing your idea, your products?
Well, I'd say it's a challenge. We have patents on our product, but patents are only valuable for two things. One is to try to keep people from I could go out and start making iPhones today, right? But there's nothing stopping me from doing it, except for the fear that they're going to sue me and shut me down and it won't be worth my effort, right? So it's a preventative measure to have intellectual property, and it's legal. So that's very expensive. Hopefully you never have to go through patent litigation because it's very expensive, I can tell you. The real way to win, and I'm not saying don't do IP. We do IP. It's great to have, but honestly, the market moves so quick these days that even if you filed for a patent, the market will probably have come and gone for your product idea before they even crack open your application to look at it. So, you can file for a provisional so that you have, say, patent pending, and then start selling the brains out of it, like as much as you can, and figure out, where the dust lands later. But really offense is what wins, football games. Like you got to score touchdowns. And so how quickly you are trying to, test and iterate and innovate and market and win. When we first started our LoveHandle company, it was just us and one other competitor that wasn't even a phone grip. It was a knob that you'd use to wrap cords on. And some of you guys might know what that is, but they became a phenomenon, but there was never even a phone grip. We were the pioneer, but they won out in the short term. We're winning now, but all that to say that we kept innovating and iterating, and now our product looks very different from the original, and it's wildly popular, but we just kept, adapting it to the market and just kept continuing to throw the ball down the field and being willing to go back to the drawing board and start again, back to the drawing board and start again. So it's more of a process than it is any sort of formula.
Oh my goodness. This advice is priceless. Every entrepreneur needs to watch this. So guys, if you have friends that are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs, please send them this podcast and have them watch it, because this is absolutely priceless. What questions have I not asked you that I should have?
Well, I would say that generally big picture stuff. I'm visualizing your entrepreneurs in their car, driving down the road, headed to their job, let's say, right? And they're trying to figure out a way out, and they have a vision for what they want for their life and their family. The key is the most important step, and the journey to success is your first one. So many people will have this idea or some idea but they're not sure or if they should do anything or if it was the right idea or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like it's like exercising. You have to show up and put the effort in. So take the first step towards it, knowing 9 out of 10 businesses fail. I don't know if that stat is true or not anymore, but let's say it is. Plan to start 10 businesses. like just plan on taking those first 9 as L's and working your way through. And eventually it's going to be worth that last one. But, do it affordably and do it, but you're going to learn, educate yourself, take on podcasts just like this one. Like the people that are listening to this right now, you're already doing the right things. You're investing this time. You could be listening to music or some drama or consuming something else, but you're deciding to consume content that's bettering yourself. Good job. Keep doing things like that, and that I just finished reading again, and I know Damon's one of his favorite books is How to Think and Grow Rich. It's over 100, almost 100 years old. Timeless lessons in there, really powerful about big thinking and the power of setting goals and having purpose behind it and putting action. That's what that book will tell you, that it's all about putting action towards your goals. So that's really what it comes down to, is the amount of effort you're willing to put in. Ideas are a dime a dozen. Everybody has them. They're not worth nothing. Until you put action with an idea, then it becomes worth something. So that's really the big deal. You can't win from the couch, and you got to get on the field and stay on the field for as much as you can.
That reminds me of Theodore Roosevelt's Man in the Arena speech, which, most people are in the stands and they're the ones that are saying, oh, you did that wrong. Oh, you did that wrong. And they're sitting up there not getting dusted by the, so this is Think Your Way to an Epic Life. So my last question is, what last piece of advice do you have to help our listeners actually think their way to an epic life?
Well, I think that, and I'm just coming up with this now, but I feel like, because I was doing it this morning, we live in, like, one of the big things that will help an entrepreneur is trying to find an emerging market or a new problem that's evolved. Like, think about if I had come up with phone grips 25 years ago, that wouldn't have meant anything, right? So, like, what's new and what resources are now available for you? We use AI in our business. Like, we have adopted it early and we use it all the time. And just this morning, I was using AI to help me just get some things off my mind and ideate on the next steps for our marketing team. And this latest version of GPT, the 4.io one, is amazing. And it was helping me to have a sounding board, because that's a lot of times we're in our own head, right? And that's a hard place to be, in a room with yourself and try to flush ideas out. You now have an assistant that you can lean on and talk ideas through and ask the questions without judgment and think your way through to the next steps. Tell it, have GPT and get the paid version, have it ask you or interview you about your goals. Have it take you through a journey of, like, what are the steps I need to take to have $10 million in the bank and to be able to be financially free and to, be my own boss and, like, whatever it is that you want. And then have it ask you the questions and just go through that mental exercise of thinking and reasoning, and what are some new market opportunities that I could look at that are emerging? What are the fastest growing product lines on Amazon right now? What are start asking great questions of it, and then go do something about it. So I think and with the title of the podcast, which I think is genius, it really all starts with a thought. Everything that you do started with a thought somewhere, good or bad. So control your thoughts, and then put them towards positive outcomes that you want for your life or for others, and to think about legacy. And, there's, whether you believe it or not, or we all have time on the clock. There's some amount of time. If you're listening to this right now, you have a little bit of clock, but your clock's going to run out at some point, right? And the next generation is going to take over. What are people going to say about you? What are people going to remember about you? What are your kids what digital imprint are you leaving? Fortunately for us, me and you, now we have this digital, imprint that we're going to leave behind, Kara. And so that's kind of cool. But I think it's just so exciting. I get excited by something new, and AI is so life-changing. It's going to be more life-changing than the internet and cell phones and cars and everything else. And the faster people adopt it, the early adopters win. So I encourage people to get out there, lean into it, see what you can do, try to break it, and you'll be amazed by what it can do. And so just do that, and I think you'll be well on your way to thinking your way to success.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate all of the value you just dumped on us today. Guys, we've got all of his information below. If you want to order some LoveHandles, you can do that below. You just click the link. And if you want to talk to either one of us, the best way to do that is on YouTube. I know that you might be listening to this on Spotify or Audible or one of the other ways, but if you go to YouTube, you can put comments in and either one of us can respond to your comments. So if you're curious and you've just got a burning question that you just need Mike to answer, just put it in there and I'll let him know that it's there. So take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us.